Ticket Machine is the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. No matter what you need a ticket for, border to border, coast to coast, the Ticket Machine is your ticket source. So whether you need to get into the hottest concerts, the best sporting events, you want the best seats in the house, or you just want to get in the door, when you want to go to any event that requires a ticket, anywhere, border to border, coast to coast, it's always theticketmachine.com. Theticketmachine.com, 517-655-3201. Check it out today at theticketmachine.com.
Welcome back to Spartan Nation. We're here. We're literally in the parking lot of the Duffy Doherty building here at Michigan State. We just met with a couple of coaches, Coach Ron Burton, Coach Terrence Samuel, joined by Coach Grenier for our weekly The Good, the Bad, and the Unproven, or the Undetermined. With Coach Chuck Grenier. Coach, of course, is a legendary prep figure at in the state of Michigan. We love him. We appreciate him. Coach, first of all, it's good to get you out of the North Country down here at the Duffy. What'd you think of today?
Deer blind, fishing boat, the Duffy. That's the triumphant three of all times. Yeah, this is a lot of been a long time since I've been down here and did this. It was a lot of fun.
Coach, let's dig in on this team. They're 5-1. I don't think anybody thought they would be 5-1. I can tell you this, regardless of what people say publicly, I don't believe that was the mentality of inside the group of the building at all. But they are. And I think there are a lot of reasons why, not the least of which is the defensive tackle play of Ron Burton's 4 defensive tackles that have certainly been the good.
Those 4 people inside are definitely run stoppers. When you have that much talent or that much excellent play on the inside game, that just relieves so much pressure off your second level, your third level players, that they can perform and do their jobs without worrying about somebody else's job. But those 4 guys inside have been run stoppers, and the teams that they have been playing, most notably Iowa and Michigan, with their run games, shut them down, made quarterbacks try to beat you that can't beat you.
Totally agree. When you're sticking on the good, obviously I think they went back to some 21 and 22 personnel, which is what we've been talking about at Spartan Nation, and the resurgence of the running game last week was very good.
Running game came along, and that was really big time last week in Minnesota to have that. That was like a ticking bomb, in my opinion. It was going to come. It was going to come. You just wanted to know when it was going to explode. Last weekend in Minnesota, they did a great job. They ran that toss play like the old Green Bay sweep in a way, and it just was so productive for them. And L.J. Scott came to play that day, not hurt, ready to go, and the running game took off.
Brian Allen is playing extremely well at a very high level. But a guy I want to talk to you about is Kevin Jarvis. As you know, at Spartan Nation, we've been talking about him since signing day as a guy that probably would contribute early. He has started 3 games in a row, probably going to start 4, probably not for sure against Indiana. But he's playing out of his mind, and he's only a freshman. Can you imagine when that kid gets to be a junior and senior with Ken Manny for 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, if you remember, we talked about him during the recruiting times, and when he committed, checking out his video, this kid was just a dominant player inside, and he was one of those kids as a high school player that took names. If you understand my meaning on that one. He took names and he kicked butt out there in the football field, and I was really pumped up to see him come this year, and he has been just as predicted. He's a great player as a young man, a real young man, a true freshman, and after he gets more strength, he builds himself up, his body matures a little bit more, this kid is just going to be All-American quality.
Continuing on the good, Joe Bochy. How do you not talk about Joe Bochy, who's absolutely playing out of his mind?
Bochy ball is great. I think I've mentioned this before. He's like a real athletic Max Bulla. Max Bulla was the game was a mind game to him. He was so into it mentally. I think Joe Bochy's got the same kind of attitude towards football. You watch him on the football field, he's calling out defenses, he's calling out plays that he thinks is going to be run. He's pushing people over into positions. He's doing everything that a 4th-year senior Mike Backer would do, and he's doing that as a sophomore.
pretty stunning. And then again, talking about the good, the bad, I would stay on the good. How about the play of David Dowell, Khari Willis, Justin Lane, and Josiah Scott? I mean, those 4 defensive backs, let's be honest, we thought it was going to be a weakness on this team. They're not perfect, but man, they're good.
Well, I think probably the biggest cog in this, and you may disagree with me on this one, is David Dowell. I think that's the biggest cog in there. Now, your 2 corners out there, Lane and Josiah Scott, you know what that quantity was. That was going to be really good.
Yes.
Khari Willis, you knew that he was going to be a little bit average to above average in pass coverage, but he was going to be a real sound tackler and help you down with the defense on that one. But the guy that's really solidified that secondary is Dowell, who maybe not be the greatest tackler on that secondary, but he's rangy, and he's one of those kids that just has a nose for the ball and seems to be at the right place at the right time. So he's the one I think that's really kind of glued it together.
I totally agree with you. All right, Coach, we've talked about the good. Let's get into the bad. Now, we're not nitpicking, but we're being honest. Brian Lewerke, he's struggling to hit receivers in stride. He'll throw balls where they have to jump, or they have to reach low, or they have to dive. Tristan Jackson's throw, had that one been out in front of him, that could have been 7. Instead, it hits him right in the middle of the body, and he had to go up in the air for it. Tristan still should have caught it, so I'm not in any way justifying Tristan not catching it. But his technique, throwing off his back foot, throwing with both feet off the ground, I love his gunslinger attitude, but it's hurting the team in the passing game. Now, he's still young, so we're not calling him a bust. We're not picking on him. We like him. But it's the reality of the situation. That's bad, is it not?
Well, it is. And it's kind of like, if you want to make an analogy of it, it's like raising a child. Each step that the child takes is a step towards maturity. Waiting for him to crawl, waiting for him to stand up, waiting for him to walk. I think we're like a Lewerke in progress with him.
Yep.
If you want to make a little joke on that one. But he knows that he's got an arm. He knows that he has feet, and he can hurt you with either one of them. His next step now is to become maybe less as a gunslinger, more as a quarterback, and be in there, take the hit once in a while, but study the play, go to your secondary read, your third read, and just take that next step to being a top quarterback.
You know, what people don't understand is, in man-to-man coverage, you don't worry about a quarterback locking on a guy.
Right.
But in zone, you do. Mm-hmm. So I've seen some people be critical of him locking in on a guy when it wasn't fair because they were in zone coverage. But I've seen people be very fair criticizing him when they're in zone coverage by not looking guys off. Again, that comes with maturity, but it's still an area of weakness.
Again, I can always go back to the inability of Michigan State to properly, I'm not going to totally throw him under the bus or the coaching staff under the bus on this one, but you got to remember that Michigan State never really develops quarterbacks over a period of time. They always throw them into the Lions right away. So all of this stuff, like I mentioned before, is going to be the next step on that one. He will come around and he will start taking his time, get his feet under him, use his technique, and start going to secondary reads. But he's in his infancy out there. He's only got 6 games at this time under his belt as a starter, if not counting last year, because last year was kind of a fiasco. But he's got 6 games in that, and you can see there's improvement each game, but he's still got to get over the hump. He's got to take that next step. I think he's going to be fine, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
I agree. All right, lastly on the bad, then we'll get to the undecided. This team in the fourth quarter has yet to close anybody out. And they've made every game close other than Notre Dame, which they lost. Mm-hmm. But their 5 wins, they've let teams scratch back in and at least make it somewhat competitive in the fourth quarter, if not downright competitive. I think part of that has to do with coaches. When coaches take their foot off the gas offensively, players get that feeling that they can relax. Your thought, am I wrong there?
No, I think the coaches, I thought in the Minnesota game, they kind of backed off way too early on that one. That was an ironic type of game. That was a really bizarre game to begin with. But again, this is youth. You got to think, if you look at this team realistically, this is just 2 years out of high school. And they're playing in some big-time games. The strength isn't there, the endurance maybe isn't there, the mental toughness is developing, but yeah, you can't allow this team to take its foot off the gas. They have to go full out the whole way and not back off, I guess is the best way to put that.
I totally agree with you. All right, let's go to the undecided a little bit. Let's talk about some things we don't know about. Tristan Jackson, talented kid. He's in watching film. He's catching extra balls. Just struggling to get going. I don't think he's been good, but I don't think he's been bad. It's undecided. How bad do they need him to step up? Or is this a case where they're so deep, at some point he's just going to get left, even though he's very talented, because other guys are stepping up?
Well, you're right on that. There's only one football. So, and you got a whole bunch of receivers out there. All Tristan needs is the game. And what I mean by the game is when he gets out there and he relaxes and he gets a few catches, makes a nice play here and there, and it's all going to go behind him at that point. But in that drop that he had against Minnesota, it was pretty easy to see that he was thinking at that time, I got the ball, I'm going to make a big play out of that, and he turned his head just for a second. It was just one of those things, and that was a horrible night to play football again too. So maybe a good dry field, good night, good conditions, he will really kind of come around.
Now, yeah, I agree with you, but the only thing I would disagree on, there's never a bad night to play football. So
bad conditions.
Yeah, bad conditions maybe, but never a bad night. Sticking on the undecided, and I thought the play calling in the first half of the Michigan game was outstanding. I thought the play calling in the first half in the third quarter at Minnesota was very good. But that's only 2 out of 6 games. We've seen a half and a game and a half. I guess 5 quarters, if we're being honest. I don't think it's fair yet to call it good, although early in the year I thought the play calling was good when others didn't, especially the first game and a half. I thought they were pretty good. But I'm excited about where play calling's going. I still say it's undecided because it hasn't been carried out for a long term yet, but I'm excited about where it's going. You agree or no?
Well, I agree. I thought the first half of Michigan, like you said, was really good, and I thought 3/4 of Minnesota was really good. And I think what you saw in the Minnesota game was we're not going to beat ourselves. And so the play calling kind of went close to the vest at that time. That third quarter at Minnesota, was it 24 plays they ran and just about used the whole third quarter?
Yeah, all but 3 plays, I think it was 3 or 4.
Something like that. I think Minnesota got 4. They had a 3 and out, and then they had the ball just before the quarter changed on that one. But, gee, they almost used the whole quarter, but they only got 3 points out of it. But that was really tremendous play calling and just running down the field. But with the bad conditions that were there, the rain, people dropping the ball, a couple fumbles on the ball and that sort of thing, I think they put the foot off the gas again, offensively as well as defensively, and just tried to wait that game out and go home. And that's what happened. Minnesota came back. Had a little bit of problem with the defensive line on that one. I think in one of your videos you had on the Spartan Nation the other day, D'Antonio was talking about capturing the quarterback and not trying to sack the quarterback all the time. And when that happened, they tried to capture, they lost their lanes, and that kid was able to run and throw easily. So I think the play calling offensively has improved a lot, and this next game is going to be really vital for the Spartans also.
And let's talk about that game. I think it's a big one for bowl eligibility's sake, but 6-1 sends a statement. More importantly, 4-0 in the Big Ten is a big deal.
6-1 is, if they got that 6th win, they've already equaled my prediction for the year. That's a bowl. Six wins will be a bowl for them. So it's a major game to be looking at. Is that homecoming that weekend too?
Yes.
This weekend? Well, there's another one. I don't know if homecoming plays much in the football players' minds anymore, but that's a biggie for the alumni. This is going to be a real test for them. I think Indiana has another run-throw quarterback, so that, I don't think he's anywhere near the quality that they've had before. But if they try to capture the quarterback, don't let him get out, and try to make the Indiana quarterback throw to beat him, I think that's a sure win for him in number 6.
Coach, what's your prediction for Saturday?
Well, I predicted 2 Saturdays in a row, 24-10. I'm not going away from it because we won both games. How's that for superstition?
24-10, Coach predicts it. So from here at the Duffy Doherty Building, by the way, it's good to have you here at the Duff with me, Coach.
Yeah, it was great to be here. I miss being here.
All right, we'll see you next week with more of the Good, the Bad, and the Undecided Spartan Nation